hot takes video. I have, look, man, content has been bad, and I haven't uploaded in more than a week, so I needed to do something to keep traction in the YouTube algorithm or do anything, because I have the last video tanked absolutely miserably, cratered, and I'm losing a lot of momentum throughout the algorithm. So I decided to make a video now. And you might be saying, just because the algorithm is bad, that's why you're making a video? I'm gonna be honest. Yes. So we're going to do hot takes because NBA fans love these, and I think they're really easy to critique, but they're not very easy to come up with. So I'm just gonna rapid fire hot takes, and you're going to, in the comment section, tell me what you think of the hot takes. They are going to be either really bad or really good. So keep that in mind. That's what hot takes are. They're supposed to be like this. Kobe Bryant was never, and I do mean this, never the best player in the league throughout any point of time in his career. I truly do believe this one. I'm not going to say anything hot takes in this video that I don't believe. Kobe Bryant was never the best player on the planet throughout his entire career. Now, if you want to debate on what that actually means, then yeah. 2, Kobe Bryant is actually massively underrated in top 10s because of the swing from the other side that we're saying he was way too overrated. And we need to readjust, because post 2020, I have been seeing terrible takes about Kobe Bryant. There are not, in my opinion, 7 basketball players better than Kobe Bryant. There aren't. So, second take, Tim Duncan is massively underrated because you guys think he's boring. If you actually watched Tim Duncan, you would realize how good of a basketball player he was. This one is not really that hot of a take, and it shouldn't be, but I know that there's somebody out there that thinks Tim Duncan wasn't as good as people claimed him to be. It also ties into one of the other 2 previous takes that I had. The Michael Jordan versus LeBron GOAT debate is actually really fucking stupid, and it needs to stop. This isn't a hot take, this is a fact. I'm stamping that. Just appreciate basketball. Just watch basketball. The worst era of basketball is the 70s, excluding the 50s, because you want me to talk? Who do you know even knows anything about 50s basketball besides like NBA, like hardcore deep dive NBA fans? No one. Bill Russell should always rank higher than Wilt Chamberlain in top 10s. That's my hot take. That's another hot take. Always. Never should you have a list where you find him below Wilt Chamberlain. My second a corresponding hot take to this: Wilt Chamberlain is not a top 10 player of all time. I'm sorry, the criteria that most NBA fans use to determine what a top 10 NBA player is just does not help his argument at all. Especially if you want to talk about player impact and stuff, because not winning championships when there's 6 teams involved in the entire NBA is disgusting. And he has 2, just 2. One of those happened in the 70s. It was the early 70s, so it wasn't as nearly as bad because it was coming off the tail end of the 60s. So that championship is a lot more valid than a lot of other ones. The same smoke that you have for Kobe Bryant and Kobe Bryant when he played with Shaq is the exact same thing that you should have for Magic Johnson and Kareem. Kareem is not a top. This is my other. There's another hot take. Kareem is not a top 3 player in NBA history. Everyone has made this weird assumption and just hold on to this, that he is like ever been in the GOAT discussion, and it's never been true. Like, it's just not. And having him at 3 to me doesn't make any sense, because we can look at his career and talk about what he won without Magic Johnson and Oscar Robertson, which is 0 championships. And if we want to just talk about the ones he won without Magic, it's just 1 championship. And even still, Magic took this team into the finals. If you value, so here's another thing. If you value longevity and not peaks, Magic should not. If you value Magic and Bird, really shouldn't be as high in your top 10s as you think. Okay. Here's another hot take. Modern basketball players are not that much better than their modern basketball players, and I do mean superstars and stars, are not much better than their counterparts from previous eras. they're not worse either. They're just, I think that we need to talk about this when we compare players for eras. When we compare players for eras, and I truly do believe this, you need to take into the context of what the rules and stuff were when they were playing. Because we've seen other players that are like carbon copies of players from a different era being put into later eras or what they would have been in earlier eras, and that just, we need to evaluate the player's skill set for what the time was and what was expected of them at that time to really appreciate them. Here's another hot take. You're gonna kill me for this one. Playmaking is not just passing. Like, seriously, the fact that we discuss playmaking and the first thing that is brought up is assist instead of like gravity or anything else. Why? Why is it like that? Since 2015, Steph Curry has been better than KD every single year. Every single year. I stand on this one for 100%, 1,000%. This is just a fact to me. I like, it's, you could say it's debatable. I don't think that even. Scottie Pippen is not a top 50 player of all time. As far as talent, he is not a top 50 player of all time. If you want to say a resume, and keep in mind how you guys consider who is the best player on a championship team to be the most important part of that formula, and how we discredit certain other legends for that. Yeah, if you're doing that, Scottie Pippen should not be in your top 50. Klay Thompson and Draymond Green should have made the top 75 list. This shouldn't be debatable. I think everyone with a brain agrees with this. They should have made the top 70. That 2022, and they went on to win a championship that year, but that year they should have made that top 75 list. Hot takes. Here's another hot take. When we're evaluating basketball players and we're talking about them, you shouldn't be judging them based on their position. We do not live in the NFL where you have to judge them based on their position, because players in the NBA actually have, yes, they have roles, don't get it twisted, but those exist to explain the basketball to like the simplest of minds, like children and stuff. They don't exist for real fans of the sport. Positions are ridiculous when we're evaluating talent, okay? The top 5 current NBA players in no particular order currently are Luka, Jokic, Shea, and I'm not assuming health, by the way. Luka, Jokic, Shea, Giannis, and then, I hate to say this, but Jason Tatum. And this is not assuming health. So, because I just like, from a talent perspective right now, I just think Jason Tatum should be ranked over just Joel Embiid. I've seen too many times where he's shrunk in the playoffs, and not to say Tatum doesn't do it as well, but Tatum has just been more consistent, played longer in the playoffs. He's more exceptional when this team really needs him. Another hot take. Health is the most important skill in any sport. When we're talking about players, bro, the best ability is availability. And y'all should start taxing these players for not being healthy, man. All right. Next one. If everyone in the league currently, so keep that in mind, everyone in the league currently was healthy and in their primes, following me? Chris Paul would not be a top 10 player. I know that sounds crazy, but if you actually think about it for more than 2 seconds, it's kind of true. Neither would Anthony Davis. And these are also players, by the way, who we talk about and we're like, oh, dude, they're injury prone. If they were healthy and in their primes, they still wouldn't be top 10, bro. You should always, when we're talking about basketball, you should always give the benefit of the doubt to previous players who play in previous eras would be able to do something similar in the modern era if the rules provide that, right? So there was a rule. Wilt had a rule in place that made it where as though you couldn't, jump from the free throw line and score there. If Wilt played in today's era, he wouldn't have that in his game. They made that a rule. They made that a rule specifically because of Wilt. Kareem couldn't dunk in college basketball, right? Other rules were made for this. Other rules like this. If a player you saw in the past played in today's game, bro, when we're taking the assumption of them being transported in today's game, I assume that they have the understanding of modern basketball. The understanding. Maybe not the experience of it, but the understanding of it, and they would be fine in today's game. No legends from the past would be bad in today's game. That's not what a legend is. All-time stats are vastly overrated. I mean, and I'm talking about being the leader all-time in points is an overrated stat. It's a nice accomplishment, and these are longevity stats. I do not view them nearly as highly as individual season stats. They're not nearly as important. Unless we're talking about a player who was significantly, and I mean significantly, hampered by injuries. The least important position in basketball by far, and this is just a fact, by far is shooting guards. I'm so serious when you think about it, especially considering how we think of them. And I know I just said earlier positions are really irrelevant in today's games, but the shooting guard is just basically the second point guard on the team. And they're not as good as point guard number one. They're not as good as the first ball handler on the team. This is the most irrelevant position in NBA. If you get listed as a shooting guard, it's probably because it's probably because you're not the most talented player on your team. Power forwards from the early 2000s were vastly overrated. Amari Stoudemire, hell, I'm gonna be honest. Dirk and Kevin Garnett, they're vastly overrated, bro. The impact that we actually saw from centers in that era was so trash that it had you guys convinced that these guys were a lot better than they had to be. The power forwards were talented, don't get it twisted. But the reason these guys were power forwards is because they were not truly as big as these other bigs. If there were actual bigs in the 2000s, these guys would not have looked the same as you remember them. And also, more importantly, this is just most power forwards in that era today would not be classified as power forwards. They'd either be centers for the ones who couldn't shoot or were tall enough to be centers, or not tall enough to really be centers, or two, they would be moved to small forwards. Kevin Garnett in today's game would probably be a small forward. Modern days, and the way we list modern day power forwards like a LeBron James and Jason Tatum, for example, for some reason, these niggas are small forwards. They're small forwards. The only two actual basketball roles you need on your team is rim protector. Sorry, 3 roles: 3-and-D, rim protector, and ball handler. These are the only roles you actually need: 3-and-D, rim protector, and ball handler. If you do not fit into one of those things, you're probably not going to make it to the league nowadays. And even if you do make it to the league and you're unorthodox, you're probably not going to be that good. Ball handler can also be playmaker too, if you want to make substitutions for that as well. The way the media covers basketball, and I mean the media at large, like ESPN and whatnot, is actively hurting the game. Don't know how y'all feel about that one, but it's a fact. Jimmy Butler's tenure as a Heat is probably better than a lot of the small forwards that you have above him, all-time legacies. If that small forward that you think is better than Jimmy Butler is not in the top 10 or in discussion for top 10, I'm telling you, bro, that Jimmy Butler run that we saw in Miami is better than that shit. I'm not going to debate with you. Paul George, post the injury, was never better than Jimmy Butler. We used to have this debate all of the time. I remember it so vividly. I am so serious when I tell you this. If we're talking about who was better, it was always Jimmy Butler. And in hindsight, I don't know how we even made these discussions. I don't. Max contracts need to be abolished in the NBA. I know the people who are actually on max contracts and stuff probably don't agree with me, but they need to be abolished. The way we determine which players are max contract players needs to be changed. Because there are so many people in the league. And I know the number's gonna go down as time goes on under this new CBA. But the way we gave out max contracts needs to change. They also do way more harm than good. Like, they're not helpful for small market teams. Especially because you can sign the max contract and get traded. There needs to be something needs to change. If you get traded, it should be different. But if you demand a trade, bro, they need to change the max. They need to change those rules. The reason the NBA is losing viewership is not just because piracy is up. It's because they have not centralized where you can watch the game. That is a massive reason why the NBA looks like it's losing popularity. The interest in the brand has increased, and Adam Silver has acknowledged this. The reason it's hard for the viewership numbers to hit what they used to is because of piracy, and more importantly, it's not accessible. When you make media accessible, people don't pirate it. If you centralize media where so you can actually watch it and it's not a hassle to do it, people won't pirate. People don't like to steal. And by the way, if buying is not ownership, then piracy is not stealing. Just in case we were unclear. The team out west that you actually need to look out for next year, that's going to be heavily underrated and that people might fall asleep on, is still going to be Houston. I know what we're talking about, and I know people are like, they're still going to underlook Houston. Houston might have a better record than they had last year. Do worry about that. No team is going to be able to. This is a new hot take that I just thought about. No team is going to be able to repeat under these new CBA. It is going to be impossible to repeat. You're going to see a lot of teams that are good and young fizzle out very quickly and have to be disbanded and dismantled very quickly. The only reason you might see it stay together if it's a team out east that can convince themselves we're just 1 year away from a championship. The East was actually at its weakest in 2015. This was the worst year of the East since in modern basketball, in my opinion. This is the worst year of the East, 2015. LeBron's 8 straight finals is more impressive than the 6 that Jordan won, in my opinion, because of the era that he played in. 8 straight is impossible, and I do not even think Jordan would have been able to do 8 straight finals appearances. I'm going to be honest. Carmelo Anthony's jersey does not deserve to be retired in Denver. The fact that they were willing to give it to a second-round pick, and that second-round pick turning out to be Nikola Jokic, is secondary. But yeah, when you leave a franchise in the way that he did, that's going to happen. You're not gonna get your jersey retired. I don't think his jersey will be retired anywhere except New York. Speaking of jersey retirements, KD will never have his jersey retired by any organization other than Golden State, and even Golden State might be in question. I know that ownership said that they wanted to do it, but the ownership has changed between then and that statement. It might not happen. The fact that his jersey might only get retired in Golden State is kind of crazy, though. Obviously not Brooklyn, obviously not Phoenix, but like the fact that it's going to be Golden State. Top end talent was at its worst. Hold on, let me finish. Top end talent was at its worst between 2010 and 2014. The top 5 players really up until 2014, bro, this was the worst, bro. The 2000s was better than that. The 2020s is better than that. I mean, I guess you could debate the 90s, but I wouldn't. The 90s got some really all-time bigs. Like, yeah, this was the worst. When it was KD and Bron, and that's it, That shit was ass. The latter half of the 2010s really saved that shit with KD, with the emergence of Harden, the emergence of Jesus Christ, the emergence of Ross being an MVP caliber player, Steph, obviously. Those guys, yeah, that era. NBA fans need to let go. You need to let go. Nostalgia be blinding y'all, and y'all be saying some crazy shit. I'm so serious. Favor the new. You should always favor the more whatever's going on currently than you should do in the past. I'm gonna be completely honest. I don't think you're real fans of the NBA unless you can do that. Unless you can admit when you're being blinded by nostalgia. All right. It's a massive problem that we have with the old heads, and if we start doing it, I'm calling y'all out. I'm not dealing with it. That's been all of the hot takes that I can think of off the top of my head. Yeah, if you disagree with any one of them, tell me. Timestamp the video and be like, yeah, this moment right here, you was on cap. You were lying for no reason. Like, comment, subscribe. With all this being said, it's been Basketball Soup. I hope you enjoyed the video.